Okay, so let's talk about DC Comics, the comic book industry, and where it's going because it's not going in a good place, unfortunately. I really don't want to see the industry go down. I would like to see it survive and bounce back. But at this point, I just don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to do it because things are in a bad spot. DC Comics has been trying to weather the storm, but it's still not helping because of Marvel mostly. DC Comics, their publishing line is way, way down. They don't put out that many books weekly. It's hard not to notice because as they dipped their line down, Marvel Comics like, well, let's just keep throwing crap at the wall. Let's double down and just make all kinds of comics. Let's just put everything. Let's make we are what do we got? 10 Spider-Man books? Let's put 30 out a week. Hit the presses. Whatever. You know, let's bring back, okay, all right, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, bombing in sales again. Reboot them. Number ones, baby. You know, and then they send out 100,000 number ones, 200,000, however many comic shops will buy them. And, you know, they make a little bit of change because the comic book industry doesn't need you to buy the comics. They need comic shops to buy the comics. Okay, comic shops take all the risk. They're the real ones that get kind of messed with in all this, which is unfortunate. They get taken advantage of big time, particularly by Marvel. There's so many things they do. The biggest one is Marvel with their variant covers, because the variant covers are where they make a lot of their money back on a lot of these, maybe if they can, by doing, you know, they'll buy, if you buy, you know, 200 books, you get one variant cover for every 25. You know, you get one variant cover for every 100, one for every 1,000, and so on and so on. That's kind of how they sometimes can make their money back. Usually they don't make that as much as they used to on those anymore. But anyway, there's so many reasons why comic books aren't doing that well, and we could talk about it all day. Their overwhelming need to push this inclusive stuff, to wipe out all the old characters and replace them with these checkbox characters that nobody likes, and they refuse to give up on them. You know, normally back in the day, if a character didn't do well, they would that would be it for them. You know, but they want to pass the mantles on, which they're not doing a very good job of it. DC Comics has been better at that. But at the end of the day, what really sells comics is good stories, good writing. And for the most part, it's just not there. It's just not there. You have some really good comics out there. You really do. There's some good books. But for every good book, there's like 20 really bad ones. And these industries, they just don't hire top talent anymore. They go by, you know, what's the identity of this person, you know? Then we'll bring them in. Oh, does that person fit the identity of the character? It's really stupid. There's a lot of dumb moves, and they keep doubling down on it. Comic shops are closing. Young people just aren't interested in them anymore. A lot of that has to do, and I firmly stand by it, with price. They're just too expensive. You know, $4, $5, up to $10 a comic is just a lot of money for kid. It's a lot of money for them. They can't afford that. Okay, they don't even have jobs. They depend on allowance. You know, what do they want to spend that on? They want to spend it on Call of Duty. They want to spend it on, you know, loot crates and stuff like that. They're just too expensive. You can't sell these books at these prices. You know, and you could maybe go digitally. That's possible. But they sell them at the same price as the physical book. There's no reason for that. You're not printing. Half of the price goes into printing. If you need to bring those down. Those books could probably be like $2. You know, maybe $1.50. You could make those print books. You can make digital books pretty cheap. Now, whether or not they would take off or not, I don't know. Shonen Jump's doing a really good job with that. With their app. You pay $2 a month and you get access to everything. Weekly stories that are good. You know, manga is doing well. Most of the people, and that's why I say there's still a demand for comics. Manga is doing pretty well here in the U.S. Doing pretty well over in Canada in Mexico and in Europe. It's not just in Japan. Manga's doing well. Look at the Comicsgate people. You're putting those independent books out. They're making tons of money, and those are high-priced books because you're funding them. You're funding the printing, the shipping, all of that stuff. And those are making a ton of money. Look at Tug. Tug's book's over $100,000. You know, there's still a demand for books, just not these books. Batman's not even selling that well anymore. Spider-Man's not even selling that well anymore. I mean, it's just not there because the stories aren't good. So I don't know what you do. I don't know how you fix it. They don't seem to want to fix it. But let's go into what they're talking about here. So it's been speculated that At&T, the parent company of Warner Media, which includes DC Entertainment, may sell off the brand in a part of a move to save billions of dollars. Now, I disagree with this. I don't think they're going to sell DC Entertainment. I don't think they're going to do that. Now, I think they can maybe sell the comics division, but who would buy it? You're essentially going to buy the rights to make the comics. There's no way if At&T buys Warner Brothers, there's no way they give up the rights to make movies, merchandise, TV shows. They won't do that. Those are lucrative. All right, the rights to sell video games. You know, you can make this Batman game. They're not going to give that up. That's where the money is. The comics, not so much. I think what they'll do is license. They will license the books. You want to make IDW, you want to make Batman books? Go right ahead. And then you just have DC Comics kind of regulate. I'm not sure. This is just speculation, but former DC Comics artist Ethan Van Sciver was tipped off by someone at DC in regards to an article published by Barron's titled At&T was headed in the right direction before activist Elliott Manager showed up, which is in regards to a hedge fund by Elliott Management having disclosed a whopping $3.2 billion stake in At&T. The problem is the hedge fund is not happy at all with At&T as its stock has underperformed compared to T-Mobile, Verizon, and the S&P index. Van Sciver points out two relevant things that potentially have to do with DC in that the article reports due to the involvement of the hedge fund that moves may be made to increase profits by removing positions as well as outsourcing. Elliott's letter also shows At&T to streamline its bureaucratic organization, removing redundant positions, and consider outsourcing non-core functions along with office centralization and other cost cutting. Elliott sees $10 billion in potential annual savings that could expand At&T's profit margins. Wells Fargo noted that At&T has quietly reduced its employee count by 5.6%, or over 15% people in the past year. So, Ethan Van Sciver goes on to speculate that At&T could divest itself of DC, meaning getting rid of DC, as At&T may no longer want to require the brand as part of its business interest or investment. The article also mentions that a big meeting is being held on October 29th in regards to the future of Warner Media. This includes DC and the new HBO Max streaming service. I don't get the HBO Max streaming service. Don't you? HBO already has a streaming service. So what is HBO Max? I have to look into this because there are a lot of rumors about shows coming to HBO Max that are DC properties. There's been a rumor of a Green Lantern show and all kinds of stuff. So At&T has an analyst day scheduled for October 29th focused on Warner Media in its upcoming HBO Max streaming service. That meeting just got more interesting. So I don't know how much I agree with this because while on one hand, selling DC Entertainment would bring in a lot of quick cash. You could pay a lot of debts, but is it worth doing that? Because then you're giving up the rights to make a lot of money. They're going to make a lot of money off of Joker. That's going to be a massive hit of a movie, I promise you, because everything about that movie sounds good. There is real hype for that movie. It sounds like it's going to be a real movie, not just a comic book movie. It's going to be a legit drama. That's what it's going to be. And I think you may see awards going to that movie that are legitimately earned. You're going to lose properties that will, if you make TV shows out of them, will do really well. The DC universe that they've been doing in the movies now is in the right direction. It really is, the way they're doing things. And that's a lot of money. You're going to sell off merchandising rights, which is a lot of money. I mean, I would have to look it up, but I would imagine that the merchandise for these characters makes loads. So you're talking about not just getting rid of the comics division now. You're talking about just getting rid of it all and selling it. I mean, right now, that would be a big mistake. A big mistake. So I don't know how much I believe that. Now, the rest of the article goes on to talk about how DC Comics is in trouble. DC Comics is definitely in trouble. But as far as these characters, they're not in trouble. You have a load of potential of movies and animated series and stuff you can make, merchandising, video games. Those all pull in big, big bucks. So I don't know. I mean, one of the things that's nice about buying Warner Brothers is you get all of the properties. So I'm just not sure I see this as a feasible thing. Now, they could make back the debt that they have quickly, but you know, I don't think it's a good idea. I think what's going to happen here is they are for sure going to shutter the comics division and probably just license those out. Then you bring in more revenue without the cost. That's the biggest thing that I think this article is missing, is cost saving. That's what they're looking at this point. That's why they're laying off a lot of people. I don't see that as a smart idea. Now, another thing I could see them doing is maybe selling some characters, stuff like that. They can do that. They can do that. But selling off DC Entertainment, that just does not seem feasible. That's probably the most lucrative things that's probably the most lucrative properties they have as far as making money right now. Because comic books, movies, and stuff, they're hot right now. I mean, we're at the peak of it, right? We are definitely at the peak of comic book movies right now. So you could also make the argument that the value is going to go down. That's possible. It definitely is. Marvel Phase 4 does not sound very good. But it very well could be. I don't know. They've done a good job so far. So I want to give them somewhat of a benefit of the doubt. We'll see what happens. They're making big mistakes thinking Ms. Marvel could be the next Spider-Man. But I just don't see them selling DC Entertainment. I think what is going to happen, though, is DC Comics is going to shutter and be licensed. And you're going to see other companies picking up the books and selling them and making them. And you're going to see, you know, maybe a rebooted universe that way or something. I'm not sure, but it definitely doesn't look good for DC Comics because comic books in general, mainstream comic books in general, aren't looking very well. They're not doing very well either. Manga continues to take off. That's why you're seeing Marvel Comics team up with Shonen Jump. I did a video on that the other day. That seems like a last-ditch effort to kind of make things come together. So we'll see, but I do think DC Comics, within the next year or two, you're going to see a big, big change. I think you're going to either see them shutter completely, or you are going to see somebody pop up and pick up the licensing rights. Or maybe they'll just reprint old stuff. They could do that too. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. What do you think is going to happen to DC Comics? Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. Check out my Twitch, Yellow Flash Comics, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.